My name is Anton Van Dyke. I've spent a lot of time in the rebate side of what we do for Windows, communicate a lot with BC Hydro and FortisBC on the programs that exist, and trying to really understand the intent of the rebates, why we have them, what the purpose is of them, and how we navigate around them. So personally, interestingly enough, about 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, I replaced Windows on my old house when there was the Live Smart BC rebate program. And I just recently purchased another house, a 1970s, mid 70s home, and did the windows on that home as well, and qualified for the rebates as well. So I've personally been through the rebate application myself. And so kind of sharing you a bit of my experiences that I've gone through and go from there. So we will, let me just get this working. There we go. So with the rebates that we have offered to us right now, what's important to note is where they come from. Some people assume that the rebates are coming from the industries. Some people think they come from the government, some from the utilities. The reality is right now there's a group of organizations all working together. There's the province of British Columbia through an initiative called Clean BC. There's the federal government working through what's called NRCan. And then there's the utilities, BC Hydro and FortisBC. And really what's happened is all of these organizations have come together to create this program called Better Homes BC. And this is the link to the website below. And so in there, if you go to this website, you're going to see a whole laundry list of things that rebates are applied to: insulation in your attic, crawl space, walls, heating systems, hot water tanks. And what we're going to talk about today is windows and doors, and how you can apply rebates to windows and doors for your project or for your home. And so it's broken down into, I don't want to, just a bit of a comical thing here. This is government programs. So governments have a really good way of complicating processes and programs. And I kind of want to put windows into a category of a car, for example. How complex it can be to purchase a car nowadays based on the options that exist. And a window, if you go back 15, 20 years, was glass in a frame. And now a window is treated more like a car based on fuel consumption. So every car is going to have a different level of fuel consumption. And the way the rebates are applied to is based on the performance output of a window. It's either going to qualify for a $50 rebate per window or a $100 rebate per window, depending on which product you select. Not all windows will get rebates. And so it's important, and we're going to go through why some do and some don't, and how we go about that application process. And so it's important to start to break down these tier 1, tier 2 windows. You're going to see these things come up in the terminology through the rebate application, through the correspondence with the utilities. And what's important to note is the tier 1, tier 2 is a way of simplifying the thermal performance aspect of a window. And so to understand a little bit of that and where that comes from is it really comes from the building code. And the building code sets minimum parameters on windows that are allowed to be used in British Columbia. And so this targets the window at this sort of performance metrics, this number of performance. It's kind of like if you think of your car, it's got a miles per gallon or liters per 100 kilometers fuel consumption kind of status applied to it. And so some cars will perform better. And so the province of British Columbia minimum criteria is this number 1.8. It might not mean a lot to people, but if you're into construction, you're going to start to understand what that is. It's about the thermal conductive aspect of the window. And so the lower the conductive rate of the window, the lower the number, the better the performance. So as the number gets smaller, City of Vancouver, for example, its minimum requirement is 1.4. So it has a higher performance requirement than the province. And that's because the City of Vancouver is trying to do more initiatives to be more sustainable, more energy efficient. So it's pushing people further along to put more energy efficient product into their new homes. And then when we look at the tier 1, tier 2, so the $50 rebate and the $100 rebate, it breaks it down into these performance categories. So a 1.4 U value to 1.23 range is a tier 1, and then 1.22 and lower. So remember, the smaller the number, the higher the performance, we'll get a $100 rebate. What you can see here is code minimum product, the 1.8, doesn't qualify for a rebate. And that's important to note. You don't simply get a rebate for replacing your windows. you get a rebate for replacing your windows for better than code windows. So the mandate that's been put forward by the government through legislation is that rebates can only apply. So government rebates, government incentives can only apply to the installation or the replacement of old product and the installation of new product, but that new product has to be better than code. It's similar to how there's a rebate for buying an electric car. You don't get a rebate for just buying a new car. So some people are frustrated by that, saying we should just get a rebate for upgrading our home because our home is inefficient. But unfortunately, that's the rules, that's the line in the sand, and there's not much we can do around that. So there's also some confusion about, what type of buildings the rebates can apply to. And this can get really confusing. And if what I would encourage everybody to do is when you click on the Better Homes BC website, it'll take you to the terms and conditions. They're not long. It's maybe a page full. It's in big print, not fine print, but it'll tell you what applies and what doesn't apply. For example, condominiums, 3, 4, 5, 6-story buildings, they don't apply, unfortunately. Because there's not a sufficient amount of windows per wall area, so they basically omitted it. However, if you live in a townhome or a row home that has the same unit stacked on top of itself, it would apply. And it's just the nature of how they've written the rules for how to apply rebates. Now, if you're in a condo, there is a way you can apply for the whole building. But it takes an energy advisor to do a whole building assessment. You don't get it per unit. You could potentially get something per building, but it doesn't fall into the same category as the $50 and $100 aspect of it. So what we're going to talk about a lot today, for the most part, is how the rebates will apply to single family. But if you are in a multifamily building and you want to have some conversations, this is probably a separate conversation we can have offline. So if that is you and you're on this, just feel free to drop your information and we can be in touch with you. So this thermal image is trying to give you an example of what different performance outputs looks in Windows. So this is 5 different windows with 5 different types of glass and 5 different performance metrics. When I mentioned about the U values of windows, it's important to understand that a window of a certain performance metric is going to perform differently. It's very hard to see performance. You can't really see heat flow naturally with the human eye. So this is it under infrared. And so that was about a 20-minute time lapse, all in about 30 seconds. And there's a heat lamp behind every piece of glass you see here. And as the heat lamp, basically chicken coop heat lamps, as they heat up the area behind, that heat wants to flow through the glass. And so what you see here on the left, this red piece of glass, this is a window that you would typically find in a home from the year late 90s, maybe early 2000s and older. So almost every existing home that you would find in the marketplace that is less than 20 or more than 20 years old. And then code minimum glass kind of fits into these 3 categories in the middle. You can get that U1.8 code minimum, and you can see here, code minimum in some cases is not that much better than old technology windows. And this is predominantly the one right smack in the middle is if you bought a new home today, you most likely have this glass in it. But the glass that qualifies for the rebates is this one. And so what's important here is people might say, well, I don't really want to put the higher end product, and it's not necessarily higher end, it's higher performance. And so we all want to pay less for gas for our cars. So we generally want to buy a car that consumes less gas. We all want to pay less to heat our home. So we want products in our home that, results in lower heating bills. And so it's really not about the high end product. It's about the product that performs well. And it's really important to note that you see here, this is a horizontal shelf. The heat coming through, think about the summertime, the heat coming through your glass, hitting your floor, heating your house up, making your house too hot. That's heat flow coming in, overheating your home. Whereas here, you don't have that heat flow coming in, overheating your home. So a bit of an added benefit to installing product like this is you get the rebates, which help offset the cost for heating your home in the winter, but you increase the comfort of your home as well in the summertime. So this is sort of seeing the difference. And so what you're going to see here is, for the most part, the windows we're going to be applying for the rebates are going to be windows with this level of performance in it. And so there's 2 systems now. There's been an added step that we have to pay attention to when it comes to rebates. And this is a really cool aspect. And I've broken it down into three basically categories or three paths to go. The first step you want to look at right now, so from October 1st to December 31st, Clean BC, BC Hydro, and FortisBC, whether you go to any one of these links, if you simply just Google Better Homes, Clean BC, BC Hydro, Fortis, and promo code, it's going to take you to one of these links. It's that simple. And it'll take you to this promotion code registration. And what's happened is, as a result of COVID-19 and economic kind of downturns, is the federal government and provincial governments have said, we have some funding that we want to put into the industry to help stimulate jobs, create some buzz, get things going, put people back to work. And so you have this promotion code aspect, this limited time double up rebate offer, that if you register for a promotion code between now and December 31st, you don't have to plan to do anything, just register for the promo code, get your code. I'm actually planning to do installation in my home. So I actually got my code, they email it to you. I don't know if you can see it, they email it to you. And now you can decide when you want to do the work. But this is very, very important that you apply for it, you put in your information, and they set you all up for it. And you can see here for Windows, I showed you earlier that tier 2 window, which was $100 per window, is now, for a limited time offer, is $200 per window. And I'll show you how significant this increase can be in some homes, depending on the windows that you purchase. What's important, like I said, apply before December 31st. If you apply on January 1st, you will not get the double up promo. And so you will miss out. So please, 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 right after this, Google it and go apply for your promo code. So at least you have it and then you're done. So once you have your promo code, the important part is that you have to have product installed and a final invoice before March 31st. What these promo codes like to do is ramp up demand for doing work very quickly. And so what'll happen is you can only get so much work done in a certain time. And so getting into the queue, the sooner you can, the better you can, because as we get into the spring, home renovation projects typically pick up in society. People get ready to go. The cool part is we can do home renovations and window replacements any time of the year. Typically a window will be removed for maybe half an hour, maximum of an hour, especially in the wintertime. So there's really no seasonality aspect to it. But in order to get that double up promo, you have to have the product installed by March 31st. It is a mandatory requirement for this promotion to work. So once you have your installation completed, so let's fast forward, you've decided to move forward, you've got your promo code, you've signed a contract with a window installation manufacturer and installer, and they've done the installation, everything's good, you've gotten your final invoices, and the key is you can only do this once the project is 100% complete. You can go to this BC Hydro website. This is another link. Like I said, don't always make it an easy path to follow or to find. Hence why we're having to do sort of the webinar on this. But what we will do is, when you purchase windows from us, at the very end of the project, you're going to get an email from us with your final invoice that is going to be in PDF form that you're going to use for this application. But it will also include the links and a step-by-step instruction on how to apply for the rebates. If it's at all confusing, your representative who is working with you will help you out. We've had people come back to our showroom and we've done the application for them. We've been trying to figure out how we can do the application for people, because we can do it in about 2 to 3 minutes. However, there's privacy issues. And so we can't actually do the application for you. We can help you do it, but we can't physically do it for you. It's just the regulation that they put forward. So you'll have a link given to you. Click on that link, it'll take you to this page, and there's this big green button, apply now for your rebates. So you click there and you go to basically the first page. And so now they're going to start sort of asking you for some information. It may not be applicable to the work you did, but they're also trying to get data on the energy efficiency levels of certain types of things in homes throughout the province. And this is allowing the government to redetermine kind of how do we stimulate the home renovation, energy renovation industry in British Columbia to make our existing homes more energy efficient, so we don't have to constantly upgrade our infrastructure, and ultimately homes just use less energy. So you identify your electric provider, hydro, fill out your account number, FortisBC, FortisBC for your gas, and basically just fill out the information as you go. Bit of information about who you are, your name, phone number, so they can contact you. So this is where you sort of get into the type of home. And I saw a little question pop up about, what about apartments? What about condos? So the rebates for windows, unfortunately, do not apply to apartments and condos. There is a rebate for whole condominium complex upgrades, but it's more on a project scale, not on an individual unit scale. And that's kind of done on purpose because there's a huge opportunity for strata councils to get together to do their whole complex, where you might be looking at a cladding replacement with windows or something with your roofing or a boiler upgrade. And those things work in house as a system kind of approach. And so it's important to look at apartments and condos at a very, very different pre-planned, pre-designed, design-build approach. But for window rebates in general, single family, row homes, duplexes, and mobile homes on permanent foundations, that's a very important aspect to look at. They will not apply to mobile homes that are not on permanent foundations. And so they're going to look for the year of the home, the occupants, that type of thing. So then you start getting into identifying the upgrades that go into the window or into the home. There's a real emphasis on heating, which you'll find if you've seen a lot of the advertisements that have been on television about rebates. It's very focused on heating and hot water and natural gas reduction. And so there's a real push to get your heating system upgraded. But what we like to talk about in our industry is the focus of the envelope, the outer skin of the home. Should be more of a priority than the heating system. And it's kind of like putting a sweater on your home before you actually turn the heat up. If you want to save energy, the key is to really focus on the ability of using less heat in your home versus just upgrading the furnace to be more efficient. So in some cases, you can upgrade the envelope of your home and your furnace now doesn't have to be as big. You can downsize certain things and get more efficiency by upgrading the windows or the insulation in the walls. So you'd identify a bit of, have you done as part of your upgrades, the heating system, in this case, no, the water heating system, no, and if you did, you would click yes and provide some additional information. So once you get past all that, it's a bit of, typically I like to call it no different than applying for a passport. You're basically just filling out information into automated cells. If you miss a cell, it won't let you go until you have the information, but it's all information that you have. So you have here some categories you can now pick on: insulation, windows and doors, space heating, hot water. Click the little cell here, go to next when you're into windows. And now it gets complex. Nothing easy about this. This is typically where we step in and help a lot of people out. I'm trying to convince the utilities to allow us to do this, where we can be sent a link and we can populate this for people. But I'm going to show you how to do it right now. It's once you know where to find the information, it's pretty simple, but it's technical data. So if you're not a numbers person, it's hard. If you are a numbers person, it's easy, but we try to put it into layman's terms. So we have an invoice date, got to put that information in there. We do the windows, the make, Centra windows. Once you start typing CEN, it'll populate. Centra Windows is already pre-entered into the system. You enter it up here. It also puts all the GST numbers. The address were already built into and pre-added into their system. So you don't have to add all that data. Model number. So this is the series number. So think of this as I bought a car. I bought a, I don't know, a BMW 3 Series. Think of it from that perspective. So you have Centra Windows 6855 model number. The U value of the window that you're putting in. This is the technical performance number that the window meets. This will be on a label. This will be on, I'll show you where this is in a second. And then the total number of units installed that fit into this category. So just taking this information here, Centra Windows 6855, the U value of 1.22, and the quantity of 12. What you're going to get at the end of the project is you're going to get emailed this document. This is our paid in full invoice. Now, here's the mistake a lot of people will make. They'll try to apply for the rebate before they've received their paid in full invoice. You will not make it all the way through to this step if you do not have this document. So you may get confirmation paperwork at the start of a project that looks similar to this, but until BC Hydro and Fortis will not process anything until they've received confirmation that you paid in full for the work that needed to be done. So that's an important step to remember. But what we do here is we provide the data that you need to put into those cells. And there's also additional data in here that BC Hydro and Fortis will use to audit if they want to determine whether or not properly registered products. So this is NRCan. So this is the federal window registration code. So all of our windows, in order for them to be sold in Canada and British Columbia, would get this registration number that is almost like a serial number that anybody can go online actually and search and look up, and you can identify, does this digit compared to the data that's registered with the government. It's a bit of red tape, but it's because energy efficiency is so important to our society, that in order to eliminate fraud, you have to go through this registration process as a manufacturer and installation company so that you're legitimized basically in the industry. And someone can do an inspection from time to time in our facility and validate, does this product you say actually meet this number? And so this is just blown up. And so I showed you the first one was the model number 6855, the U factor 1.22, the quantity installed was 12. So backing up to that one, that all makes sense, it links in there. So once you've filled out the first one, there's a button here, add more, because obviously there's 3 more lines. And I go to the second one, 6855, U factor 1.37, and a quantity of 3. Click the green button again, takes me to the next line. Same thing, there's another line, click the green button, takes me to the next line. Now I've filled out all 4 items into the system. I'm done with that. So this is the technical data where most people get hung up on. We've tried to really simplify it as much as we possibly can. It's not important that the numbers mean anything to you. They mean something to us. They mean something to the people on the back end that are reviewing things. But the key is that you identify the U factor and the quantity that are being installed. And here's where it gets to be a little bit of fun. So you've entered in the data. It's calculated everything based on the rebate without the double up promo. So let's say you failed to register for the double up promo. For those 12 windows that we put in that were tier 2, based on the U value you put in, those first 12 windows, they all qualify for a $100 rebate. The other ones were tier 1. They qualify for a $50 rebate. And so adding that all up, you get to $1,600. Now, if you've applied for the promo, the rebate promo, this number, this 12 windows that are tier 2, these go to $200. That's simple, double up from 100 to 200. The 8 remain at 50, but you can see here the difference very quickly. This contract here, for example, was $16,000. So the original rebate represents about 10% of the original contract value, but now you've basically increased it to $2,800 for that rebate that's going and being applied to that $16,000 window order that was done. So a rather significant rebate is available for windows that are done that qualify. As you go through, the next step is a little bit tricky. Some people have done this, so it's easy for them. Some people have never done this before, but you do have to upload some supporting files. So a lot of this program requires a level of trust on people's end. There is an auditing capability, and there is the opportunity for people to come to your home and do an inspection to validate whether or not you did put in the proper product. But you have to upload files, and it's 2 simple files. One is the paid in full invoice that we email to you in PDF form. So what you do is you save that to your file, and the other one is a photo of a label. And window labeling, temporary window labeling, is a requirement that has to be done. In new construction, every window gets a label, building inspectors see the label, and then they check off that the windows meet code. In retrofit though, they want us to have labels on the windows, but the challenge is when we install windows, you don't want labels all over your windows when we leave the home. because then you have to clean the glue and the residue off, and it's not a fun thing to do. So what we've done, and we've confirmed this to be an acceptable practice with the utilities, is we provide the labels for the windows in an envelope at the completion of the project for you. And what this allows you to do is take a label out, hold it up to the glass, and take a photo of it. And so when you go to the upload aspect, what you're going to do is you're going to upload the paid in full invoice, and you're going to upload that photo of that one label. You don't have to do them all. If you wanted to do them all, you could. I personally, when I did the rebate application myself, I took a photo of one label and uploaded it, and that's all they're looking for. And if they feel that something may not be correct, they may call you, they may want to take a look. And so what you'll see here is this label is in reference to the 6855, the U value 1.3. So that one is in reference to this item number 2 that's on here. So they link up the label to the data that we have on this invoice. So they're all playing a role in there. And so what I've done here is just an example of, I saved these file numbers, the photo of the label and the invoice, into just a folder on my desktop called rebate content. I click the upload, I find it, I select these 2 items, it dumps them into the program, and then we're done. So whether or not you need to add additional information, I don't know what that is, but there is an opportunity to do that too. So I find this to be in an odd spot, but it is. I missed it the first time I went through this, and which kind of had me scratching my head. But when you get to the very end, or step 4, you're going to see this thing about bonuses and special offers. And so the first one here is the special offer, this promotion code. This is done at this stage. Do not forget to tick this box. If you don't tick this box, you won't get your promotion. You won't get the double up, and your check will be smaller that you receive in the mail. So if you tick this box and you've applied for your promotion code, it'll allow you to enter in that promotion code, which will then automatically increase your rebate for your windows. So please, please, please don't skip that step. If you do, let us know. We do have the ability to communicate to the utilities directly to help deal with it. There's also an Energy Coach hotline on their website that will allow you to call them up and say, unfortunately, I forgot to enter in my promo code. Can we please apply it? There is somebody on the back end, an actual real person that reviews every application that goes through. So there is a rather human element to this process. Now the bonuses is kind of cool. If you're really into upgrading your home and you want to do the windows and let's say the insulation at the same time, or within a 6-month, or I think you can do it within a year period right now. If you did 2 upgrades, you can get a bonus of $300. So there will be a rebate for doing your windows. There'll be a rebate for doing insulation, and then just tick the box and you get a bonus of $300. So if you're planning to do multiple ones, I'd recommend you kind of plan around them within the same vicinity and the same time. If you did your windows, a little while ago and you got your rebate and now you're doing your insulation, I would go down this process and tick it. And then if there is a glitch in the system, get on the phone with them and talk to them and explain it. They do listen. They're a very passionate group about energy efficiency and want people to do things well and do things right. And so when you take these extra steps in your home to do it, they're there to really help. And then there's actually a third bonus. And if you click through here, if you get an EnerGuide home evaluation done, there's a bit of cost to this, but somebody can come to your house. They do what's called a blower door test. They test the amount of air leaking into your home from outside and how much warm air is leaking outside. They determine the levels of insulation and other things in your home. And this is all done prior to doing any work. So there's a small cost to have that person come in and do it. But the bonus can be up to $2,000. I think right here it shows $2,000 for doing the EnerGuide home evaluation plus 3 upgrades. So if you did your heating system, your insulation, and your windows, you can get an additional rebate as well on your home. So there's a huge opportunity to do more and more energy upgrades on your home through these rebate programs. So, and with interest rates being at an all-time low, the energy savings that you may incur might actually offset the interest on a loan to do that work. So something to consider. So So then getting towards the end here, you get to pick how you want to receive your rebate. You can apply it to your bill. When I did mine, I just asked for a check. I did mine right at the very, very beginning of the program and got my check within like a week and a half. I think now it's a little bit longer, probably up to a month, maybe a month and a half. But the checks do come, and they are nice to receive. And so you can determine how you want to receive it. You'll get a summary of everything that you put through and submit. And I do have to admit, the system isn't, I caught it just before this presentation, but I failed to put in my promo code as I was putting this together. So if I'd put in the promotion code, you would have seen this 1600 turn into 2800. So I'd have to go back now through the system and redo it because I missed that promotion code. So it's really important that you follow the steps through all the way through the system in order to do it. Not always sort of straightforward, but like I said, if you've applied for a passport online, typically you can apply for a rebate online. So yeah, and so that's it for the presentation.